The indigenously developed missile, that's Prithvi 2 missile, has a range of 350 kilometers and is capable of carrying 500 to 1000 kgs of warheads. Major Maj Shah is joining us live on the broadcast. Major Shah, what do you have to say about this latest feat? Certainly a proud moment for our country.
Most certainly, Meenakshi. We have test fired our Prithvi 2 missile, as you rightly said, 350 kilometers is the range, and our prowess, our military prowess, our defense, it's a big boost to our defense, and thankfully it has a very precise accuracy. In fact, it hits the target bang on, and it is an upgraded missile, so it's something which we all need to celebrate with.
Right, and also help us, understand what it means for defense Atmanirbharta, what it means for Make in India.
Most certainly, Meenakshi. Now, our Prime Minister has always promoted Make in India. We always speak of Atmanirbhar Bharat, of being self-sufficient and self-reliant. And in fact, our Defense Minister also spoke about we want India not only to make in India, but to make for the world. And we have been exporting military equipment to Philippines and to other countries. So yes, when we test fired the Prithvi 2 missile, it is totally Make in India by DRDO. We have our own setup, and most certain with a precise target. Like some time back, we had fired some more missiles from an aircraft which on a dummy ship, which hit the ship precisely on its target. So right. Most certain, our equipment that we make in India is very much reliable, and it boosts the confidence and the morale of a regular soldier, and of course of Indian citizens as such.
And also, it's been an integral part of India's nuclear deterrence. This missile was fired with extreme accuracy. What does this mean? Help us understand at the time of a combat, perhaps when you're faced with an adversary, say, like China.
Absolutely, Meenakshi. See, what happens is I'll give a small example for everyone to understand. Supposing a weapon has something known as an effective range and something known as a killing range. Now, to simplify it further, I will say an effective range would be, supposing I have a rifle. It's just an example I'm equating it for people to understand. Now, my rifle has a capability of firing, say, 750 meters range.
Right.
Does that mean when I see the enemy at about 1000 meters, I will open fire? I will not. I will wait for the enemy to close in. Now, will I open fire at 750 meters? I will still not, because then the inertia, the velocity of the bullet that I'm firing from right now, it will slow down. It will depreciate. I will wait for the enemy to close in, say about 100 meters or 150 meters or 200 meters, and then I will open fire so that I can have maximum effect and impact of my round on the target. Same thing here. I've simplified it further. Same thing is with the missile. Now with the missile, it is if you miss a target, it's a huge loss, because firstly, a missile is not a joke. It's a very expensive equipment, and then the loss, the damage it can occur. An artillery shell itself, say Indian field gun, which has a capability of 17200 kilometers. So that itself, you can imagine one small degree from this angle.
Yes. So it will certainly give an edge to our forces. You're right about that, sir. And stay with us. We're speaking about the Defence Ministry's Defence Acquisition Council, which has cleared 3 capital acquisition proposals for buying indigenous missiles. The deals are worth 4,000 crore rupees. Out of these, 2 procurements are for the Indian Army and 1 for the Indian Navy. Amongst these, the indigenous Helena anti-tank missile is a notable procurement. Helena missile will be integrated into the Advanced Light Helicopter Aircraft. DRDO's also Vishrod missile system is also going to be procured. Meanwhile, the BrahMos launcher and fire control system will be procured as well for the Shivalik class of ship. Major Shah is still live with us. Major Shah, help us understand, certainly since we are speaking of Make in India, Defense Atmanirbharta, the fact that we are going to, or rather the acquisition of these 3 missiles, 2 for the Army and 1 for the Navy, has been cleared by a Defense Ministry, is not only a boost for the forces, but also a big boost for DRDO, Make in India, as we were discussing.
Absolutely, Meenakshi. Now the Ministry of Defence has cleared already about 4,276 crores for buying indigenous Helena anti-tank missile and air defence systems to be developed for taking down enemy aircraft. So when we have this kind of equipment, most certainly, now I explained to you what I mean by a precision hit, and how a small degree, again for you, I'll simplify it further. Say a pistol, a 9mm pistol with a 9mm caliber. It's a small barrel, right? So if I even move it by 1 millimeter, if my hand shakes, when ultimately when I'm hitting the target, that 1 millimeter will go on to a further degree and I will miss a target. But if I have a rifle, if I have a light machine gun, LMG, which has a longer barrel, so obviously now if I move it by 1 millimeter, ultimately at the long run, it will make a big difference. But weapons with longer barrels have better accuracy. It's common sense. Why? Because a smaller barrel, similarly now with a missile, when we have new equipment coming up, the precision bang on target, you have something known as TOT. That's called time on target. Like from the regiment of artillery, I come from the regiment of artillery. In the artillery, we have something called as TOT, time on target. When we know when the artillery is going to fire, that is when the infantry, before that, infantry will, the artillery does the shelling, and then the infantry will go ahead on ground, the queen of the battlefield, which will go on ground and conduct the attack, and the artillery would be giving them cover fire. Similarly, now when we have missiles, a long-range missile, or we have so the missile from long range, you don't have to go there to the actual battleground. You can fire up, you can press a button from your command post, from your position, from wherever you're sitting, and there you can inflict maximum damage on the enemy, Meenakshi.
Right. Major Shah, DSC has also cleared, these three proposals. Help us understand in one layman's terms, what will be acquired by India? What's the range of Alina missiles? What this acquisition means really for the army and also for the Shivalik class of ships, sir?
Meenakshi, that's a very, very good question, and it is slightly technical. And if I have to make a layman understand the technicalities of the Shivalik ship and about the of the procurement of the Helena anti-tank guided missile launchers and the associated support equipment, I would just classify. I would tell it in the simple words by saying that when you have to hit the enemy and hit them like really hard. So how do you do that? Do you do that with your regular, like earlier, for example, you were just talking about Janiel about CRPF training the Village Defense Committee, the Village Defense Guard, the civilians, CRPF providing them training in Rajouri. Now, when that means the villagers are not being trained for only fighting. They're not expected to train to fight against the hardy foreign trained terrorists. That means it will be a deterrent. It will be at least you can fight the enemy straight away. Enemy means not an external enemy, any threat. That's an enemy. Now, when you have high-tech equipment, when you have modernized equipment, when you have missiles, when you have something which is ballistic, when you have something which is longer range, you don't have to physically go on ground to the battlefield and fight. You can sit there, sitting in your command post, the way you're sitting right now. You can just press a button over there, click, and you can fire missiles and inflict maximum casualty upon the enemy. So if I have to make a layman understand, it's very simple that instead of fighting with guns and going on the battlefield, you can sit in a command post and just by the click of a button, you can cause maximum casualty at the enemy, Meenakshi.
All right, Major Shah and Wing Commander Bakshi, thank you for joining us with all these details.